If I've been in the United States for 10 or more years, and I've been paying my taxes, and I have US citizen children, can I apply for a green card? This is a question that I regularly receive, and it's going to be the topic for today's video. For those of you who are new, I'm Puyan Darian, an immigration lawyer, and today we're going to talk about some immigration law. If you're new to my channel, I usually read the comments and answer any questions you might have, and I'll use any proposed topics in the comments to create new videos in the future. I put out videos on a weekly basis, so be sure to subscribe. Today we're talking about what's referred to as cancellation of removal. I've heard people call it the 10-year law, and it's a really complicated topic. I'm going to try to break it down for you in a simple to understand manner. Cancellation of removal is a defense from deportation. And that's the first part that's important to understand, because a lot of people misunderstand exactly what this 10-year law option is. That means to apply for this option, we need to first place you into deportation proceedings, which carries all sorts of risks. And in my experience, a lot of people don't fully understand these risks when they try to apply for this immigration option. What I have seen happen is an immigration lawyer will tell somebody, hey, if you have been in the US for 10 years and you've been a person of good moral character during those 10 years, and you have US citizen children who will suffer extreme hardship if you're deported, then we can get you this immigration option, which might result in a green card. The way it works, typically, is that the immigration lawyer will begin the process by submitting an application for asylum. Asylum is something you apply for if you're afraid of returning to your home country because you have a fear of persecution. Asylum generally is difficult to be granted if you're applying after the first year in the United States. But lawyers will use this as a way to place their client into deportation proceedings so that they can later apply for cancellation of removal. A super risky move in most situations. There are some situations where it might be a viable option. For example, if you actually have a serious fear of returning to your home country and your asylum application will not be deemed frivolous or fraudulent or misleading in any way, that might be a way to apply for asylum in a legitimate manner. And then, once you are placed into deportation proceedings and the immigration judge asks you, what defenses do you want to apply for? We can say, hey, judge, we want to withdraw the asylum application, and now we want to apply for cancellation of removal. That's the first thing to understand. More importantly, cancellation of removal is not available to most people who have been in the US for 10 or more years and who have US citizen children. Why is that? Well, the reason is because to apply for cancellation of removal, we need to show that you have US citizen children who will suffer extreme and unusual hardship if you're deported from the United States. Extreme and unusual generally means your children will suffer more hardship than a normal child who is losing parents to deportation. This is a very simplified way that I use to explain it to my clients, but it's a good framework for purposes of this video. Let me give you an example. Let's say you are from El Salvador and you have a child who has a developmental disability, and you've been in the US for more than 10 years, and during those 10 years, you have demonstrated good character. For example, you have been filing tax returns and you've never been arrested for any crime whatsoever. And you find yourself in deportation proceedings, one way or another. You might be able to apply for cancellation of removal because we meet the 3 criteria depending on whether we can prove it. And those 3 criteria are US residence for more than 10 years, you've been a person of good character during those 10 years, and you have a qualifying family member who will suffer extreme and unusual hardship if you are deported to El Salvador. And the way we would make that argument is by saying, look, judge, this child has a developmental disability. This child will not receive the services that they could otherwise receive in the United States if they return to El Salvador with the deported parent. And therefore, this child will suffer extreme and unusual hardship if the parent is deported to El Salvador. Again, this is a very simplified way of explaining the procedure, but my point is that this option is not available to most people who've been in the US for more than 10 years. I have seen entire communities of people apply for this option because when one person applies for the option through an asylum application, they will temporarily receive employment authorization while the asylum application is pending. And all their friends see that, hey, this person's been here for 10 years. I've been here for 10 years. I want to get a work permit too. So they'll all end up applying for this option, not knowing that down the road, when that asylum application turns out to be frivolous or they are otherwise denied cancellation of removal, that entire group of people will end up getting deportation orders. So I want to repeat that this is not a good option for the vast majority of people, and it actually pains me a little bit even to call it an option. I would never help someone apply for something like this because the risks are just so great. So if there's anything you're going to take away from this video, just understand that if you're even considering something like this, you will be placed into deportation proceedings. And if you are not able to win a defense from deportation, yeah, you might get a work permit temporarily while the case is processing, but you could very well end up with a final deportation order that might not be fixable at the end of the day. If you've already applied for asylum with the hope of obtaining cancellation of removal, and this video casts doubts on whether you might be successful in your efforts, then please know that there might be other options available. If you want to consult with me about the specifics of your case, we can go through everything and see if we can actually apply for cancellation of removal, or if we can actually see whether other options might be available, like termination of removal proceedings. It all depends on the specifics of your case and the government policies at the time of your immigration court proceedings. If you have questions about this video or anything I discussed, put it in the comments below. I really do answer as many questions as I possibly can, and stay tuned for another video next week on another immigration topic.